If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.
In hip-hop, power usually comes with alliances. You shake the right hands, you make the right calls, but there's one rapper who built his legacy by never picking up the phone. One artist who stayed completely outside one of the most powerful empires in music. And that artist was Eminem. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs was untouchable. Politicians, billionaires, pop stars, rap legends, everyone knew him, worked with him, or owed him something. Even 50 Cent once stood close to him before their relationship turned into open hostility. But across the entire industry, there was one major artist who kept his distance more than anyone else. Not in the 90s, not in the 2000s, not ever. Marshall Mathers never wanted anything to do with Diddy's world. And the truth is, the tension between them didn't start recently. It's been building for almost 3 decades. Early warning shots, 1996 to 1999. Long before the world knew the name Eminem, the warning signs were already there. In the mid-1990s, Sean Diddy Combs sat at the top of hip-hop's food chain. Bad Boy Records wasn't just a label, it was a gate. If you wanted radio spins, magazine covers, or industry protection, Puff's approval mattered. But Marshall Mathers didn't come into rap looking for permission. Back then, he was a white kid from Detroit battling for respect in a culture that didn't owe him anything. No money, no cosigns, no safety net. And that's exactly why his mentality was different. In 1996, while recording raw underground material, Eminem slipped in a subtle but deliberate jab aimed at Puff. It wasn't loud, it wasn't a diss record. It was a line you could miss if you wasn't paying attention. But insiders noticed. That moment mattered because at the time, Eminem had nothing to gain from challenging powerful names. No label backing him, no fan base to protect him, no leverage. Taking even a quiet shot at someone like Diddy back then wasn't bold, it was reckless. And that's what made it real. While most upcoming rappers were dreaming about bad boy chains and flashy videos, Marshall was obsessed with something else: artistic freedom. He didn't want to be shaped, he didn't want to be managed, and he definitely didn't want to be controlled. So when the industry was pushing artists toward Puff's world, Eminem went the opposite direction. Detroit, battle rap, independent grinding. By the late 90s, when Dr. Dre finally discovered him, that defiant spirit was already fully formed. Eminem didn't learn rebellion after fame. It was baked into him from day one. Those early lines weren't jokes. They weren't trolling. They were a message. A message that said, I don't care how powerful you are. I don't care what you control. If I have something to say, I'm saying it. And in hindsight, that 1996 warning shot wasn't small at all. It was the first crack in a wall that would take nearly 30 years to finally collapse. No fear of monsters, Suge Knight. To understand why Eminem never feared Diddy, you first have to understand Suge Knight. In the late 1990s, Suge wasn't just a music executive, he was a myth. The CEO of Death Row Records, home to Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre, Suge ruled through fear as much as success. Artists didn't just respect him, they avoided eye contact. Stories followed Suge everywhere: alleged beatings, intimidation, and ruthless tactics that kept people silent. In hip-hop circles, there was a saying: they weren't scared of Suge Knight, they were terrified of him. By the time Eminem rose to prominence, Suge's reputation was already cemented. This was a man no one challenged openly, especially not someone still climbing the ladder. But Marshall never played by those rules. The moment that changed everything happened during the filming of 50 Cent's In the Club video in Los Angeles. The set was buzzing, industry people everywhere, security tight. Then Suge Knight showed up, not alone. According to people who were there, Suge arrived with a crew that included members of a Mexican street gang, creating instant panic. Energy shifted immediately. People scattered. Whispers turned into fear. This wasn't a rumor, it was real tension. And while most people backed away, Eminem did the opposite. Instead of hiding, Marshall walked straight outside to face Suge and his crew. No entourage, no threats, no shouting, just presence. 50 Cent later said that was the exact moment he realized Eminem wasn't just a rapper, he was solid. No tough guy performance, no Hollywood bravado, just calm defiance.
Witnesses described Suge walking away shortly after, with his crew looking confused, as if they expected fear and got none. That moment sent shockwaves through the industry, because standing up to Suge Knight wasn't symbolic, it was dangerous. After that encounter, Eminem recorded a diss track aimed directly at Suge Knight, and it wasn't playful, it was brutal. The lyrics reportedly accused Suge Knight of involvement in the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G., allegations that have circulated for years but remain unproven and deeply controversial. Dr. Dre, who had his own painful history with Death Row, stepped in and told Eminem not to release it. He made it clear, this isn't your war. Out of respect for Dre, the track stayed locked away for years. When it eventually leaked, fans finally understood how far Eminem was willing to go when pushed. And that's the key takeaway. If Eminem could stare down Suge Knight, a man built on fear, violence, and control, then intimidation simply didn't work. Which brings us back to the original question. If Suge couldn't scare him, why would Diddy?
The Marshall Mathers LP era. By 2000, M was officially arrived, and the world was about to feel just how fearless he really was. The Marshall Mathers LP wasn't just an album, it was a cultural event, a raw, unfiltered window into the mind of a man who had clawed his way out of Detroit streets and now had a global stage. And on that stage, M made it clear, no one, not even hip-hop royalty, was untouchable. The record was packed with controversy. He ripped into politicians, celebrities, and even members of his own family. But the shots at Sean Diddy Combs were especially pointed. In one track, he subtly referenced Diddy's personal life, targeting his then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez in a way that was dark, provocative, and designed to get a reaction. This wasn't random drama. It was M testing boundaries, showing he could step into a world ruled by image, influence, and power, and still speak his truth without fear. Despite the intensity of his lyrics, Diddy never publicly responded. But that silence didn't mean the words were harmless. The music industry was watching closely, noting that here was a white rapper from Detroit with no street empire, no label legacy, who was boldly challenging the most powerful figures in hip-hop. Meanwhile, M's career continued to soar. He was selling millions of records under Dr. Dre's mentorship, proving that talent and relentless work ethic could carve out a legacy independent of traditional industry power structures. Diddy, on the other hand, was transforming himself. He was no longer just Puff Daddy, now P. Diddy, the businessman and brand, expanding Bad Boy Records and building an empire that went beyond music, award shows, media ventures, fashion lines. His world was bigger than ever. Their interactions at this time were limited to public events, award shows, and magazine photo ops. And the one moment that stood out, the 2003 Grammys. Diddy handed M the award for Best Rap Album. On camera, they smiled. On the inside, the tension was palpable. Two titans in the same room, separated by history, ego, and unspoken words. And while M's lyrics had already shown that he was willing to challenge the powerful, the real genius was his timing. He never attacked when he was weak. He never wasted energy on battles that didn't serve his art or his legacy. That era wasn't just about controversy, it was about strategy. It was about building a career on fearlessness, integrity, and raw talent. And by the time the 2000s rolled in, one thing was undeniable. M wasn't just a rapper, he was a force, someone who could confront the biggest names in hip-hop without flinching. The Marshall Mathers LP didn't just put M on the map, it drew the first clear battle lines in a story that would stretch across decades, a story of power, fame, loyalty, and ultimately, fearlessness. 50 Cent, the turning point. By the early 2000s, 50 Cent was the hottest name on the streets of New York. Dangerous, raw, and unapologetic, he carried the aura of someone who had survived the struggle and lived to tell the story. But even a rising star needs to write back and to reach the top, and that's where the paths of M and Diddy intersected. At the time, Diddy reportedly considered signing 50 Cent to Bad Boy Records, but there was a major roadblock. 50 was locked in a street feud with Ja Rule. For Diddy, this wasn't just a caution, it was a risk to his empire. Signing 50 could pull Bad Boy into a world of real-life street conflict. M, on the other hand, saw opportunity. Under the guidance of Dr. Dre, he and his team decided to take the chance. They signed 50, bringing him into a safe and structured environment where his talent could flourish. The result was explosive. 50's debut under M and Dre, Get Rich or Die Trying, sold tens of millions of records worldwide. He went from a street legend to a global superstar almost overnight. The kind of success that Diddy had passed on, now firmly in M's corner. This moment changed the game, not just for 50, but for the dynamics of the entire industry. Suddenly, M wasn't just a rapper, he was a tastemaker, a gatekeeper, a power broker. And Diddy had to watch as a young artist he had rejected became a multi-platinum international phenomenon, all because M believed in him. 50 Cent's rise also intensified the subtle tension between M and Diddy. It wasn't personal at first, just business. But in hip-hop, business and ego rarely stay separate. 50 became the human link between these two giants. Where once M had been cautious with industry icons, now he had an ally, someone who could validate his influence and amplify his reach. And while Diddy was expanding his empire in media, fashion, and music, M was quietly proving something far more important. He didn't need permission, he didn't need approval, and he certainly didn't need Diddy's blessing to dominate. This turning point would echo for years, because in hip-hop, missing the right move, like passing on 50 Cent, isn't just a business decision, it's a legacy decision. And for Eminem, that decision cemented his position at the top, showing the world that he wasn't just fearless in his lyrics, he was fearless in life too. The documentary that changed the conversation, 2015. In 2015, hip-hop fans got a chilling reminder that the past never truly dies. The documentary Murder Rap, Inside the Biggie and Tupac Murders, hit the scene promising answers to two of the most infamous mysteries in music history. Directed by investigative journalist and retired LAPD detective Greg Kading, it laid out a theory that would shake the foundation of the industry. According to Kading's investigation, Diddy allegedly offered $1 million for the murder of Tupac Shakur, and Keith D, a known associate in the scene, was said to have been involved. Immediately, the hip-hop world erupted. 50 Cent didn't hesitate to weigh in. He went public, claiming that Diddy truly was behind Tupac's death. The posts, the interviews, the commentary, it all spread like wildfire. Fans debated endlessly on forums, social media, and podcasts. Could it be true? Was this the confirmation of what people had whispered about for years? Meanwhile, Eminem remained silent, at least in public. It wasn't out of fear, it was strategy. Eminem had already demonstrated he didn't care about industry power. He had stared down Suge Knight. He had jabbed at Diddy in his lyrics. But this was different. This was explosive. Allegations that could ignite lawsuits, media scandals, and personal danger. And yet, fans noticed something. Behind the silence, there was tension. There was anticipation. Eminem didn't need to respond immediately. He knew the power of patience, the way a calculated lyric could speak louder than headlines. This documentary reminded the world that Eminem wasn't just a rapper who dissed people for shock value. He was a historian, a commentator, and sometimes a provocateur who weighed his words carefully. It also marked a turning point in how Diddy and Eminem would interact from that moment on. The storylines that had been simmering for nearly 2 decades, from the subtle shots in 1996 to public award ceremonies, were now colliding with real-world controversy. And the question everyone was asking became unavoidable. How would Eminem respond? By holding back at first, he set the stage for what would come next. The moment where subtle jabs turned into direct, undeniable lyrical fire. Because in hip-hop, timing is everything, and it's survival. And Eminem knew exactly when to strike. Kill Shot and the line that broke everything, 2018. Fast forward to 2018, Eminem was already a legend, but hip-hop never stands still, and neither does controversy. During his explosive beef with Machine Gun Kelly, Eminem released Kill Shot, a track that would instantly dominate conversations online. Every line dissected, every bar analyzed. Fans replayed it over and over, trying to catch every hidden jab. Then came the moment that made the internet erupt. Near the very end of the song, Eminem dropped a single, almost casual line referencing Diddy in connection with Tupac's death. And then, almost immediately, he flipped it with humor. "I'm just playing, Diddy. You know I love you." The line was subtle, it was shocking, it was a masterclass in tension. The reaction was instant. Social media exploded, podcasts, forums, comment sections. Everyone was debating. Was he joking, or was there a hidden truth buried in the lyric? Fans argued about the layers. Some believed it was classic Eminem irony, shock value paired with lyrical precision. Others wondered if there was more beneath the surface. After all, Eminem didn't throw words around carelessly. Joe Budden, speaking on his podcast, confirmed the tension. Diddy was not amused. He was reportedly extremely unhappy with the line. For years, Diddy had been able to ignore Eminem's jabs, but this time, he couldn't, and that's what made it so dangerous. For Eminem, the line wasn't about starting a war. It was about asserting control, showing the world and the industry that he wasn't afraid of anyone, not Suge Knight, not Diddy, not the unspoken rules of power in hip-hop.
The genius of the moment was in its precision. Eminem waited decades to make the world truly sit up and pay attention, not with shouting or headlines, but with a single lyrical needle, sharp, pointed, and unforgettable. And in that moment, the dynamic changed. Eminem wasn't just a rapper anymore. He was a force who could make the most untouchable figures in music pause, even if only in speculation. The Revolt TV incident, 2020. By 2020, Eminem's reputation as a fearless lyricist was firmly cemented. But even legends have moments where words can ignite controversy faster than expected. That moment came with an unreleased verse for a remix of Conway the Machine's Bank. Recorded the previous year, the verse never intended to see the light of day, yet somehow it leaked online. In this verse, Eminem called out Revolt TV, Diddy's media company, in no uncertain terms. The lines were sharp, personal, and direct, a rare instance of Eminem taking aim at a corporate entity tied to one of hip-hop's most powerful figures. Within hours, fans and media outlets were dissecting every word. Social media erupted with speculation. Was Eminem reigniting a decades-old tension? Was this the beginning of a full-blown lyrical feud? But what happened next revealed another side of Marshall Mathers. He acted fast. Within 24 hours, Eminem issued a public statement apologizing. He explained that the verse had been recorded in the heat of the moment, was never meant to be released, and that he respected Revolt TV in its work. It was a swift, calculated move, a reminder that even the most fearless artists understand the difference between private frustration and public action. And yet, the leak had consequences. Even though Eminem apologized, the lines further cemented the idea that he would not shy away from calling out powerful figures when he felt it was necessary. Fans noticed the subtle shift. Eminem was no longer just a rapper taking shots at fame or celebrity. He was commenting on the inner workings of power itself. Meanwhile, the timing couldn't have been more charged. By 2020, Diddy's empire had expanded far beyond music into fashion, media, and culture. Calling out Revolt TV wasn't just a lyric, it was a challenge aimed at an influential network, a subtle reminder that Eminem's reach and voice could affect even the most entrenched players. The incident also highlighted one key truth about Eminem. Patience and timing are as much part of his strategy as lyrics. He doesn't react impulsively. He waits for the right moment, measures the impact, and then lets the world catch up to him. In this case, the leaked verse was a flash of tension, short-lived but unforgettable. It reminded fans that Eminem and Diddy's relationship, while never openly hostile at this point, was built on distance, respect, and underlying suspicion. And for the first time in years, it became clear. Everything collapses. By 2023, the tension that had been simmering beneath the surface for decades finally collided with reality. And it wasn't just lyrics or speculation anymore.
A series of serious allegations emerged against Diddy, shaking the foundations of his carefully constructed empire. Multiple women came forward, accusing him of sexual assault, abuse, and manipulation. Among the most shocking was Cassie, his longtime former girlfriend, who detailed years of alleged mistreatment, beatings, coercion, and forced actions. The hip-hop world was stunned. Diddy, the untouchable mogul, the man who once held the power to make or break careers with a handshake, suddenly faced public scrutiny unlike anything before. Meanwhile, Keith D., already a controversial figure for his alleged involvement in Tupac's murder, went on YouTube openly discussing his relationship with Diddy and claiming that Puff had requested his assistance in orchestrating Tupac's death. Again, these claims are unproven and highly contested, but in the court of public opinion, the allegations alone carried immense weight. Amidst this storm, Eminem quietly observed, "This wasn't a moment for reaction or commentary yet. It was a moment for positioning, for assessing the landscape before striking." And then came the death of Slim Shady, Eminem's most unflinching works in years. Tracks like Bad One referenced the alleged excesses of Diddy's parties, while Antichrist recounted disturbing footage of alleged abuse involving Cassie. On Fuel, Eminem went further, crafting intricate wordplay that tied together sexual assault allegations, corporate power, and the murky legacy of the murders of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Again, making clear these were allegations, not proven facts. The album wasn't just music, it was a statement, a declaration that Eminem would speak his truth, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how powerful the person involved. Fans and critics alike saw a side of Eminem that few had ever witnessed. He wasn't aiming for headlines. He wasn't performing for clout. He was taking aim at injustice as he saw it, armed with decades of experience in surviving and thriving in an industry built on intimidation, politics, and power. The ripple effects were immediate. Discussions erupted online about loyalty, justice, and accountability in hip-hop. And the tension between Eminem and Diddy became more than just industry gossip. It became a symbol of the collision between raw talent, unchecked power, and personal morality. By the end of 2023, one thing was clear. Eminem had never feared anyone. Not Suge Knight, not Diddy, not the weight of the music industry itself. He had survived, thrived, and now more than ever, he was willing to speak truth to power, even when the stakes were higher than ever before.
No more jokes with the death of Slim Shady. Eminem didn't just release an album, he delivered a full-scale declaration. This was Eminem at his most fearless, most uncompromising, and most unfiltered. From the opening tracks, it was clear. There would be no jokes, no playful disses, and no hiding behind metaphor. He went directly at the heart of the issues that had simmered for decades. On Bad One, Eminem attacked the excesses and alleged manipulations of Diddy's so-called parties, painting a vivid picture of power and influence gone unchecked. Every line was calculated, every bar deliberate, designed to hold a mirror to the darker side of fame and the cost of unchecked influence. Then came Antichrist, where Eminem recalled the chilling video of Cassie, Diddy's former girlfriend, allegedly being assaulted. Marshall didn't just reference it, he forced listeners to confront the gravity of the act, using his lyrical skill to turn a shocking image into a story that demanded attention. But the album's true apex of intensity was Fuel. Here, Eminem employed layered wordplay and hard-hitting metaphors to address sexual assault allegations, the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, and the consequences of unchecked power in the music industry. He even used clever linguistic devices, like spelling rapper without a P to suggest raper, and SAS as a reference to sexual assault, making listeners pause, reflect, and feel the tension in every line. Then came the remix of Fuel, where Eminem went further, connecting Biggie's murder as a domino effect from Tupac's death. Again, he emphasized that these were allegations, not confirmed facts, but the lyrics carried the weight of history, speculation, and frustration all at once. This was Eminem standing tall in the center of a storm he didn't create, but one he wasn't afraid to face. He wasn't performing for shock value. He was delivering commentary, accountability, and storytelling that forced the hip-hop world to sit up and listen. And the message was unmistakable. Eminem has never been afraid of anyone, whether it was Suge Knight in the 90s or Diddy in the present day. He doesn't need allies to assert himself. He doesn't need validation to speak his truth, and he certainly doesn't shy away from conflict when it matters most. By the end of the album, listeners understood one thing. Eminem isn't just a rapper, he's a force of nature, a storyteller who confronts the powerful, the corrupt, and the untouchable, with lyrics as his weapon and truth as his shield.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.